Well, hey, everybody. My name is Jared,
My name is Mateo Caliz.
and this is the Coltist, an Indianapolis Colts podcast, episode 17. So I guess we're calling this the Michael Strachan
Yeah,
episode or
yeah.
the
What
Philip
is
Rivers
like his
or
nickname is like Mega Strong or like
Mega Strachan.
Mega Strong. Yeah, I believe it's
Yeah.
something like that. But
Mhm.
does he have a reception this year or
Yeah, I think he
like
had one
even
last
even a
week.
reception?
Mhm.
Ah, he did.
Yeah, he had
Well,
one.
finally, yeah. The guy was like so hyped up to start the year. It was like this guy is going to make an impact, going to make an impact, going to make an impact. And, nah, just hasn't been active. But yeah, it's a seven. What was it, like a 6, 7 round receiver?
Yeah, he's well, the position that he was drafted to play is a unique position, the sort of hybrid tight end split end role. It's not a role the Colts currently have on their offense. So I think that it's going to take a season for Strawn to sort of get acclimated, because
Yeah,
he's gonna have to come in and sort of develop into a role. Um, that said, though, speaking of tight ends, man, Jack Doyle has been real good this year, and
yeah, he has. Yeah,
Mo Alley Cox has been a big disappointment. So
yeah. Just couldn't find that. Earlier in the year, I was like thinking, okay, now is the time that Malott Cox is finally going
yeah,
to step up.
yeah,
Jack Doyle is gonna get benched. Malott Cox is going to start getting like 75, 80% of the snaps, and it just hasn't happened. And Jack has been playing some really good ball this year.
yeah.
What is he
He's got
like?
really sure hands.
32, 33?
Yeah, he's getting up there. That's he's sure-handed though, and that's the
Yeah,
thing about the Colts really lacking some firepower at wide receiver. And from my perspective, are just getting lucky and getting by. Um, Ty has been real banged up. I keep replaying that part of that interview where he talks about almost quitting, and it's just like, man, it's really getting it towards the end for him. And we've been fortunate that he comes in, and when he does play, he's effective on the football field. Uh,
yeah,
and then what we've sort of learned this year is that Michael Pittman is a lock.
yeah. Dude can play. Yeah,
He's making grown man catches. Um, he's one of them players. I remember young Hines Ward and being like, man, he had guys draped all over him and caught that. That was a tough catch. Damn, that was a nice block. Like, hey, this Hines Ward kid can play. That's kind of how I feel about Michael Pittman, and I get it. I get it. Probably hyping him up a little bit.
yeah,
But yeah, another nice outing out of Jonathan Taylor. Uh,
yeah. Over 100 yards. Yeah,
Speaking of balance, by the way, did we not say that last week? Hey, it would be
yeah,
nice to see a little more balance out of this offense. And would we get 33 carries and 28 passes or something like that?
yeah,
Like, hey, a nice balance. Obviously, that was a
yeah. Yeah,
huge road win. Um,
yeah. It's just like one of those wins where you're just like, no matter how ugly it is, you're just happy it's a win and not a loss.
yeah,
So right now, there is something that I just couldn't understand. Like, are we getting the players that were placed on the COVID list on Friday and on Saturday? Do we get them back?
no, and it's sort of one of those things. This whole COVID thing is one of those things now. I'm sort of realizing that we're just gonna have to all take care of ourselves, because clearly there's no leadership that's gonna come out, and say, we're not gonna let anything stand in the way of greatness, especially when it's preventable. We're committed to
Yeah,
100% of our staff, coaches, and players to be vaccinated in the next 1 week. We're not going to let this impact our team. Fortunately for the Colts, they're the beneficiary of a garbage rule change as a result of corporations protesting the CDC. Literally, the CEO of United protested the CDC to roll back because they just
decision. Yeah,
yeah, so they've rolled back the isolation period, and what Fauci said, it's scientifically accurate, man. Like, when you have visible symptoms, you're contagious. And when you don't have any visible symptoms, you're less contagious. And people are just chomping at the bit to get back to some semblance of normalcy, that they'll just take that and run. And the NFL is a business, right? So they're going to take that and run and be like, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
let's get back to business, baby. And if you're the Colts, if you really think about this, even though we're dumb, right? So we've made terrible decisions so far. We get bit and then get a favor, right? Directly back. I'd like to think that's karma for the mental health initiative.
Yeah.
So they got that bright back, and that they shortened the isolation period. And then from what I've read, the return doesn't require a negative. It's just it's as on the player
improved symptoms. Yeah, something like that. Just like really
you can lie
bullshit,
you can lie your way back onto the field. It's awfully
like,
what it sounds like.
What is the definition of improved symptoms? Like, you used to cough like 3 times a minute, now you're coughing 2. What?
Like I said, I get
exactly do you measure that? You know,
people have complained that we've politicized this virus, and I will just say this: I just got done coaching my first year of semi-pro football, and I had several players on my team that have played recently in the last couple years Division I football. And I was also one of the players on our team was a multi-time junior college national champion, a 3-time junior college national champion. So I'm not talking about like guys that were on some garbage program, right? These were guys that played Division I football and played on really good junior college programs. Okay. Didn't get vaccinated, and we had a COVID outbreak. I got COVID, but I had gotten a vaccination at the VA. Okay.
Yeah.
When I got COVID, I had real bad cold chills for about 36 hours. Okay. I also felt horrible, and it took me out of a day of work. Okay. I just went to the VA. So I had COVID in May. I got vaccinated in March. And then 6 months later, I just went to the VA this past week, and I got a clean bill of health. My blood came back fine, no cholesterol, heart problems, none of that, blood pressure, none of that. Okay. So I got a clean bill of health. And in fact, I'm so happy about that I'm making a life change, going back to the gym. I'm going back to play padded semi-pro football. I'm playing quarterback. I'm playing until I can't lift my arm above my head anymore. Right. This is my reward to myself for being a person that listened to smarter people than I am. And as a result, I don't have any long-term health implications as a result of having COVID-19. But those 2 players that I told you about, specifically that played Division I football and junior college football at successful programs, both got COVID, both were unvaccinated, both are under 30 years old. So they're more than 10 years younger than I am, and both have long-term health complications. One of them now has IBS permanently. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
That means that their stomach hurts no matter what they eat, and they have to go poop a lot all day long, and it's never not diarrhea. That's what their long-term health complication from having COVID unvaccinated is at like 24. Okay. And then the other one, he's a little bigger guy. He has a blood clot in his lungs. He's on blood thinners. He's not supposed to play sports ever again. And his doctor said, I know you're going to do it anyway, so just don't take blood thinners on the day you go play football. So that guy's going to die on a football field. And the other guy with IBS probably will never get to play anywhere again, because once they find out that you didn't get you still haven't got vaccinated, and you've had COVID, and it gave you a long-term health complication, who's investing resources in you now? So just use that example, and then think about these stupid jock football players and propping them up as intelligent people when they play a violent sport for money. Okay. So there's no sympathy for any of these players that are unvaccinated. One of the things that you have to be able to do as an adult is admit that you are not a subject matter expert on this topic. And I should defer to people that are a lot smarter than I am. And I'm not the person sitting here saying I have all the answers, but I'm pretty sure a whole bunch of veterans kill themselves every day. Suicide is a legitimate problem within the veteran community in the United States. Okay. They've never called me. But when the vaccine became available at the VA called me the day before and the day I got the vaccine to make sure I was going to be there to get it. So I don't know how to explain that to dumb people that don't understand simpler concepts than that. But like I said, suicide is a massive problem in the VA community, in the veteran community, and the VA has never called me and asked me if I was okay. But they called me 2 times in a 24-hour period to make sure I'd come get that vaccine.
Yeah.
And when I went and got my booster, it was on the walk-in, brother. Hey, while you're here, go in that room and get your booster. Now, I don't know about you or any healthcare you've ever received in your whole life, but they didn't have a room dedicated when you went to the doctor and said, also, go get that shot. They've never done that in my entire life. I'm 38 years old. I'm almost 40. I just happen to be very privileged white male I've had healthcare my entire life. Guess what? I've never literally been ushered to a line to get a vaccine now. Never happened in my whole life. So no, I'm not going to question that at all. I'm not questioning that. Nope. We're going to sit there. Our arm's going to hurt and we're going to feel. And again, I felt like crap for about 36 hours, brother. Yeah. And now I'm right back at it. So when I see these Colts players come up positive for COVID, I got no sympathy for you. If our season goes, it goes with that. We got lucky is what happened here. So we get to exhale a little bit and we say, oh, we get all these players back. It's probably not going to be Ellinger, and it's probably not going to be your backup offensive line against a pretty game Raiders team who I actually think would be able to keep up with the Colts and probably would beat the Colts. Derek Carr is probably not losing to Sam Ellinger, is what I'm kind of going to throw out there. With the exception that the only exception I would make is that Darren Waller is out. So
is he already out? Like confirmed?
He's out. Or? He just got put on the COVID-19 list today. So today's Wednesday. It's 5 days of isolation. If he tests positive, he'll miss Sunday's game, right?
Fact.
Yeah.
Sucks for them, especially for us, because we can't cover tight ends for
we can't cover tight ends, so it's actually like okay for us that he's not there. So I feel good. Would have
gone off against us.
I'll feel good about the Colts on Sunday when they say Carson Wentz is going to start. But that's kind of how I felt about it. When all these players popped up positive, I was like, see, this is what we needed to avoid. And it even seemed like without the rule change, the Colts might get lucky, right? Because of the 90-day period afterward where they can't. So it's fortunate, unfortunate. Depends on how you look at it. Obviously, I'm not so much of a fanboy that I can't say like, yeah, we got lucky and otherwise are stupid. Sure. I'll be the beneficiary. Every blind squirrels find nuts every now and then, I suppose. But yeah, that was a huge, big old road win. And it kind of destroys a narrative that had been forming about Frank Reich, in that his teams don't beat good teams, and they specifically do not win road non-division, non-conference games. So to kind of the narrative being built against Carson Wentz was he had been ineffective lately. His usage rate matched his skill set. That was a comment I saw somewhere. And then the other one I saw was something about like Carson Wentz can't win big games. But I just wanted to point out that after that win on Sunday, Carson Wentz is like 4-1 in prime time. So like he can win under the lights against the game opponent in a close contest. Obviously, the X factor is Jonathan Taylor. Without the late long touchdown run. Who
Yeah.
knows? But I'd said it on Sunday. Carson Wentz still, the passing game was the difference in the game. I get it that Jonathan Taylor had himself another good outing, but
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
What Carson Wentz did in
It's
the passing game was the difference in the game because, uh, Arizona doesn't have much of a run game to speak of, and you have to
Connor
be
was out also. Yeah.
you have to be able to keep up with a hot passing offense without overdoing it, right? And again, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier about balance, which the Colts have in spades. But yeah, now that with Carson Wentz, the rumors the Colts have reached out to Philip Rivers. I would rather have Sam Ellinger,
Yeah.
just so everybody's clear on that. Carl Nassib's legitimate. I would just be I'd be wary about overlooking the Raiders and Jags. More so the Raiders than the Jags. The Jags
Yeah,
are
Jags. I'm not worried.
pretty
We
hapless.
tend to struggle against Jacksonville right there in Duval, but they just have not been good at all this year. Like they haven't been able to win any sort of games. Trevor Lawrence is struggling big time. They're down to like, what is it, like their fourth string running back, because now James Robinson is also out for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
they're without a head coach. They there is just like,
they're
if that
they're a
happens,
rudderless boat.
if you lose, like say you lose against the Raiders, that it can happen. It's a tough game. But if you lose against the Raiders and you lose against the Jaguars, now that is honestly like a fireable offense. There is no way. Like Jaguars are like really, really, really bad. They have been losing, like, what is it, like they have lost like 7 games in a row. They had like over the past like 10 weeks, they have scored over 20 points just once against the Jets.
I
Like,
mean, I can't sit here and say like I'm 100% the Colts are going to come out and get a win in one or both of these games. Not missing a ton of personnel. So like I said, sounds like they're going to get lucky and that they may get a bunch of guys back.
yeah,
But again,
yeah,
I'll keep singing the same song I've been singing the whole time I've been making content for the Colts. Consistency is key. And when you've had guys miss time and come back, things are. I would not be surprised if the Colts struggle early on Sunday, kind of no matter.
yeah. No matter
They're
what happens.
it would be one of those games where they struggle in the first half and come out and make good second half adjustments and get a win. I think I heard somebody say last week was the most important game of
Yeah,
the season. But and I hate to sound like a coach, but the next one is the most important, right? First of all,
yeah,
it's about maintaining the expectation of your organization is that you win winnable games, right? You win the games you should win. And I hate to say it, but the Raiders are a step behind in terms of the Colts.
yeah,
Not only in their record, but
yeah. What are the like
in
8-7? Is it?
I think they're like 7-7 or 8-7, something like that. So the reason I say that is just they're probably going to need another draft or two. Their
Yeah,
starting
to
quarterback's
become
getting a little
competitive.
older. They've also had some guys get injured.
And yeah, the thing with Henry Rocks,
Yeah,
he was like starting to become a valuable player, and then that happens. The thing with Jay Gruden, is it John or Jay Gruden? I get them confused, but the racist email. So yeah, just
John.
terrible season. John
Yeah,
Gruden, yeah.
yeah,
Well, fuck. Derek Carr has been struggling as of late.
yeah. And he was, you know,
Fast.
in the
Yeah.
past
Fast.
offseason, he was one of the guys that a lot of Colts fans are talking about, like, you know, we should go get Derek
Yeah,
Carr.
yeah. I really like the guy, but Wentz has been surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oof. Josh Jacobs also having a really rough year.
He has the lowest completion percentage of any of the top 21 quarterbacks in the NFL, which speaks again just as much to the personnel around him as it does his inaccuracy. And like I said, it's one of the things I'll always harp on Carson Wentz for missing the throws that you should just
Yeah, you
hit.
you, you
Guy
get
was, and
you
he
got to
makes the
see that.
throws. He makes the throws that are like, damn, that was a hard throw. Like he had
Yeah,
to
like
feather, he had to
when
feather it a little bit. He had to throw it over a guy and under another one. Like he
he
makes those
misses,
throws.
like he misses the fourth down completion to Michael Pittman. That was like not a hard throw by any means. It
Right.
was complicated, but not that hard. But then
Yeah.
he goes out and make like that throw to like Ashton Dulin, I believe it was, like right over Isaiah Simmons, like this close. And then the touchdown to Patman, the
Mm-hmm.
back of the end zone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, how
That
can you
was a
be
really
just
nice throw.
yeah? And then he goes out on like a 5-yard slant. He just sails it right over the receiver. You're like, seriously? Like, just so darn infuriating.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I just noticed, I was kind of looking at the data. Carson again playing around the top 12 in the league
Yeah.
in terms of production versus the field. Um, but he has no game-winning drives and no fourth quarter comebacks. And we're 2 weeks from the end of the regular
Yeah.
season, so the Colts haven't
Well,
gotten that out of him. And so that's something to sort of keep an eye on. Like I kind of set the table for you, right? You have
yeah,
a
but
bunch of players out. The NFL just changed the rules, so the Colts are going to get a lot of players back. Consistency is key, though, so don't be surprised if they come out and struggle on Sunday. And then Carson Wentz is going to have to bail them out. Fortunately, two things. One, he has the arm to throw you into a football game. He
yeah, that's right.
also
Yeah.
he does have the arm to do this, and he also does have the legs to get himself out of trouble. But the question will always remain, like, does he make the correct decision with the football? It's not that he's necessarily been throwing a bunch of interceptions either. At this point, I think I saw he's thrown basically about half the turnover worthy balls through about 15 games that Philip Rivers did last year. So he isn't putting the ball at risk. He is
Yeah.
largely throwing to open guys. He's not making guys have to make plays all the time. And it'll be interesting to see if the Colts go ahead with Sam Ellinger and just give him a shot and see if he can put anything together. And I don't know. Something tells me Ellinger ends up playing on Sunday or something. And we'll see.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah. I
the thing
showed
about
him,
Ellinger,
yeah.
he doesn't have quite the arm that Carson Wentz does, but he 100% has the legs. And when you've got the legs and you've got a good running back, I think Sam Ellinger could actually move the ball in the NFL. Think of like a step slower Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Where Lamar Jackson's, in my opinion, I have not seen someone in the NFL that moves like Lamar Jackson does when he's moving full speed. But Ellinger, when he gets loose, he just looks a little slower, and he still looks like, hey, that might be the second most athletic quarterback I've seen in the NFL.
Yeah,
Now,
he's got
Kyler
wheels,
Murray,
yeah.
Kyler Murray is a good athlete, but he's what I would call more of a hybrid athlete in that he's strong too. Like he's got big arms. Um,
Yeah.
and Sam Ellinger is more of like a track athlete. with just good escapability. But like I've been saying, like if you've been listening to this podcast or if you've listened to any of the content that I've been making, I've been saying for years, consistency is key. It's nice to have an athlete at quarterback. At least the Colts aren't having to go to a guy like Rivers or Eason. So at least it's Wentz and Ellinger. I've been thinking about it a lot more with college football, with the bowl games lately. You want athletes at quarterback
Yeah.
because when
Yeah,
your
desperately. Yeah.
injuries pile up over the course of a season, and obviously in college you're trying to get to a bowl game or whatever, but in like the NFL you're trying to get to the playoffs. A mobile quarterback can move the ball when the defense is taking away the run game. The quarterback, if they're mobile enough, they can get themselves into space and if they're good at throwing on the run, they force the defense to play honest defense. And then when they just play too far off, they give up a good, nice, healthy run to a quarterback, will deflate a defense. And they'll give up points when you do that too. It's one of the things I've noticed. Teams that give up the big run to the quarterback, or like
You usually give it points. Yeah.
like a breakaway play, like a screen pass that goes for a long yardage on like a crucial third down or something, is backbreaking. And as I've been observing this for a while, this phenomena in the NFL or in college football too, where defenses appear to have the opposing offense hemmed up. And you're like, wow, they stood up on their outside wide receiver. They challenged that ball to that receiver, caused an incompletion. They shut down the inside run, and now it's 3rd and long, and this quarterback's gonna have to make a play. And he rolls out, and he either throws them into a first down or runs into a first down, and immediately they're giving up points in the next few plays. And it's I have a feeling it has to do with like mental health and the way people are now. The slightest mistake and people just let up, and it affects the outcome. So that's that thing that coaches preach, right? Take care of the football. If we avoid making turnovers and dumb plays and penalties, naturally it keeps your morale high, because the only stimulus in the game are the positive things that are happening, right? Because we don't have a bunch of penalties and turnovers and dumb shit happening, so we're not on the roller coaster, right? We're playing foundationally good football. So that's been the Colts. That's kind of one of the things the NFL has gotten a lot better at, is not turning the ball over. League wide, been pretty responsible with the football, and I get it, there's always outliers, but I haven't had a lot of, and I get it, they're professionals, they're supposed to take care of your football. But yeah, I mean, what a turnaround. Obviously, Frank Reich going from, I think early in the year I said, you've mismanaged a $180 million roster. You're 0-3. I'd fire you. I'd fire you right now. Go find somebody else who wants to do this. All the way to coach of the year candidate. And a lot of people, I know it's a turnaround. And now going from can't be good teams to basically doing nothing but it, basically since the Ravens game, if you really want to think about it like that. Have beat several playoff teams, have come close to beating 2 other playoff teams, and the Rams and Ravens are the ones that come to my mind. A 3-point game and an overtime game. So yeah, regardless, it's almost like a can't. This is why Frank Reich will never get fired. It's a can't lose situation, right?
Yeah.
The conference itself is god awful. Let's just say it what it really is. Like,
it's not that competitive. Yeah.
The Nashville Derrick Henrys are going to be good as long as Derrick Henry is healthy. The moment they have no stable of running backs to pound the rock with you on, Ryan Tannehill is not throwing you to a victory. Not with that cast of characters. Look at the Texans, right? Look at the Jags. God awful. The gutter of the NFL. The Colts should win this division for the next decade straight.
Yeah, yeah, they should.
There shouldn't be any. They're just so far ahead on several different aspects. And it starts with um, developing it's all about talent, right? Developing, evaluating, procuring talent, and the Colts are very good at that. I would still argue that there's room to improve when it comes to things like personnel management, situational football, play calling.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you on that
Um,
one. Yeah,
I think that there are games that get away from the coaches. And I feel like if you're a good team, that those games don't happen. The games don't get away from
yeah,
you. You're not breaking your neck to get back into games because you've mismanaged them. And unfortunately, like you've been saying, the Colts have been a pretty good first half team this year, which is again like a break from the norm. And
yeah. It's usually like the other way around.
right, you're usually waiting on the Colts to wake up, right? Like, did you leave your bang in the parking lot or something? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They come out like they go out to sleep, and then yeah,
yeah, and I think that part of the problem with teams that come out flat is they are out there either not enough time or way too much time before a game. Um, Football is different than a lot of other sports. Most other sports, you don't wear 20 pounds of pads
yeah.
and a big ass helmet. And when you go, this team I just got done coaching, them I go play for. Last year I harped on them because I felt like some of y'all go sit under that shade tree until the game starts. Then you try to get all ready to go when you've let your muscles kind of relax. And then some of you, I see you out here punting and kicking balls 4 hours before the game starts, getting a good sweat in. Well, it's 100 degrees outside and you're wearing black and also like 20, 30 pounds of pads, right? I get it. We're supposed to be football players, but let's be smarter, right? Work
Yeah,
harder, work smarter, not harder. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you can imagine me doing that with a bunch of adults that are married and have kids and are
yeah,
homeowners, right? These NFL players,
yeah.
it's the
Grown ass
same
man.
way. It's the same way. They just make more money. Um, but yeah, you can imagine there, especially at home, especially on that turf, the Colts home field. It's not you don't want to get tackled on that. That's like getting tackled on the sticky side of Velcro. That's what it feels like to get tackled on the Colts home field turf. By the way, sneak peek. Again, I've said this before. My name is Jared Malott. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. Last year, I coached a semi-pro football team. I was the offensive coordinator and primary play caller for a team called the Indiana Cutters. 1 year ago today, I put out a call out on Facebook. Hey, if you live in the Indiana, Ohio, Illinois area, and you want to play semi-pro, which is adult recreational football, NFL rules, padded. We always need players. You can definitely find the Indiana Cutters if you're looking for them, and we're kind of starting that climb now. When I got into coaching, because I wanted to get experience under my belt before I tried to like go force my way into the staff, right? Um, I imagine that the same kind of problems that we have at our little semi-pro team, you're going to have at the NFL level too.
Yeah,
Specifically, mine is athletes gas themselves before the game starts, and then your big guys aren't ready to play. So your little guys, they got a ton of energy, and they come out there and they're all hyped and bouncing around. The music's got them going, and you're looking at them breathing hard. Why are you breathing hard? The game doesn't start for 90 minutes. What are you doing? And it's hot. Think. And these guys are like, it's not high school ball, coach. And you're like, what? Yeah, you're an old man now. Like, what are we doing? You got to be a little more measured in your approach. I sound like a golfer. But yeah, the the same kind of things in the NFL, where I think historically what was going wrong with this organization is there was no management of players. And Frank Reich came in and said, yeah, there's some kind of things that we need to do. So I've kind of noticed that the Colts during Frank Reich's tenure have gone from ill prepared, right, where they were not ready to start that football game, frequently falling behind, playing from behind a lot. That's coaching. And when the Colts now appear to come out fast and then just try to maintain that level of energy the whole game, which is very difficult to do. I get that. That's coaching. And so while I don't know that I would necessarily have Frank Reich as my coach of the year, he would be a candidate for me just based on the turnaround and the sorts of things you're seeing in terms of like they're getting plays made in all phases. Some teams are so one-dimensional, and that's personnel, right? They have the right players, which you would have said the Kansas City Chiefs, but their defense has actually balled out this year. So where they had all the personnel in the world on offense and nobody's on defense, there's just nobody stood up. But yeah, the Colts, I'd say 5th seed with the division still up for grabs. 2 games left is not a bad spot to be in after starting 0-3.
Yeah, 1-4, 0-3, yeah.
Like with the way the season started, man, that was ugly. I mean, what real more could you have asked for? Like I said, the Ravens, Rams, and one of those Titans games. But then, I mean, then you're easily the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, by far. Yeah. You win those games, you're like what, like 11 and
yeah. Oh no, his internet might have gone out. But yeah, so we've been talking here. He'll come back. I'm sure of it. There he is.
Is it me or you?
Well, I'm hardwired in fiber internet.
Yeah, me too. It happens. Yeah, what I was saying
it's
is
whatever.
Like, if the Colts win those games like against the Ravens and the first one against the Titans, those are like the 2 that are really like winnable.
Mm-hmm.
They are 11-4, and that's the best record in the NFL. And if they win that against Tampa Bay also, like it's all like ifs and whats, but if they do that, then they are like 12-3, and that's the best record like alone in the NFL. No one else has the record.
Right.
And the Colts could very easily be there. And they're like the Colts wins, like they weren't like, it's not like when they were winning, they are also winning like by a lucky bounce or lucky play. Like when they are winning, they are doing so like convincingly.
Yeah, thoroughly
like
defeating someone.
Yeah. It's not like you could say, okay, well, yeah, you could say like, oh, what if the second Titans game like went a different way? But what if this win went a different way? Because like Colts wins, like they were really like convincing. It's not what was like the only one I can think of right now that wasn't so much as convincing was the one against the Patriots. Because we needed like the Jonathan Taylor touchdown to seal the game.
Mm-hmm.
All the other ones, it's like they like beat them properly, fair and square. No lucky bounces, no lucky plays, no lucky turnovers.
Right.
Really good wins.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why I believe like this is a team that could seriously go far in the playoff, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make the Super Bowl. That could, I can see it happening,
Well, the only team I was worried about that I'm like, I really don't want to see you in the playoffs, from my perspective, is Baltimore. I'm really not interested in playing against Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, but they've played themselves out of, if I remember correctly, they're not even in playoff contention anymore. Yeah, they're the 8th seed right now, so they're technically out of it.
Seed, and they have to play like, what is it? They have to play like the Rams right now. They have
they have Rams and Steelers to end their season.
Yeah.
So there's a chance they end up like 8 and 9.
Yeah, I don't know if Lamar is playing this week. Like, is he finally like What is the deal with Lamar Jackson? I just like 2 minutes ago, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson practices with pronounced limp
Oh
ahead of
yeah,
pivotal game versus. Yeah, that's exactly what you want, you know.
yeah.
Lamar Jackson, one leg going off against Darren Donald, Von Miller, Sebastian Joseph Day. So yeah, that's probably gonna go right. You know,
Yeah, that's gonna go
it's gonna go
horrifically.
fine for them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I'm not
What?
saying
Yeah.
like I just don't want to see him healthy in the playoffs because I don't think
Yeah.
we have the athletes to hit
To keep
him.
up with him.
Not
No,
if he,
yeah,
I
we
mean, if he's
don't.
limping, absolutely, Darius Leonard
Yeah.
can catch up to him. But yeah, and then also, and the obvious one would be Kansas City. But here's the thing: Kansas City has been so up and down, and they've had some really down games that they're unlike the Colts in that
Yeah.
the Colts haven't come out and just laid an egg. You know what I mean? They've put together a concerted effort every week. And then I wouldn't really want to play the Packers. Um,
Yeah. But
but
you know, when it's Packers would eventually be like in the Super Bowl, and
yeah.
pretty much anything could happen in a Super Bowl. You just never know. That's
Oh
one
yeah,
thing
it's
that I don't particularly like about football.
what's that?
Yes and no. That any like in the playoffs, you know,
Mhm.
not always the best team wins. It can happen like 2 or 3 plays that just
Or
go
the
the other
complete
way.
difference of the game. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, like for example, basketball, baseball, you know that like 99% of the time the best team wins. So you play best of 7. But yeah, that's also it's what I don't like, and it's what I love about football, that basically any team that makes a playoff can win it all.
Yeah.
You just never know. You know, when it's the NBA, you know, you just know that okay, it's going to be either one of these four.
Right.
NFL, you never know.
Yeah. That's how I know football is the greatest game is because you have all these thoughts going into a season and being like for the record being right or wrong about what happens in the Colts season's dumb luck anyway, right? There's so many factors going into that. But one of the things that is becoming less of a concern for me over time is coaching and play calling, which at the beginning of the year is something I was harping on pretty consistently and unhappy about. And now here lately in the last, about a month or so, I haven't really had it much to gripe about, mostly because the run game was so over effective that you really didn't even need your passing game. And then, like I said last week, I think Carson Wentz was 18 for 28 for 220 something yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's
so he had a good week, a good outing last week. But again, as we sit here and talk about it, just like we'd said all year, he's got the sort of the look of a franchise quarterback, but his play is going to take him down a few notches to
yeah,
that
it's
top 12 to 15, a top half guy.
yeah,
And top half guys that win the Super Bowl all the time. So that's certainly not to cut Carson off at the knees. And like I said, it's just I'm gonna need to see some refinement, some better accuracy, better decision making, a more Carson Wentz playing hero ball kind of game right
yeah,
before.
for us to be like fully invested in the guy.
I don't think we have a choice there. I think that the Colts are
Yeah,
just like ride
we're
or die with this
basically
dude.
like, yeah, we have to like accept it.
But I think that he's not doing things that you can't get he can't get away from, and this is going to haunt him forever, right? He uh, uh he panics like anyone does, and then does exactly what you don't want him to do, which is throw it at the other colored jerseys. Generally, we want to stay away from that.
Yeah,
And he also
it's
tries to do the other thing, the option D, like flip it with the opposite hand, uh, shovel pass it while you're being tackled, things like that. that occasionally you're just going to have to live with, which again, he's done a lot less of lately. But it's one of the ways I know that Carson Wentz is human is because when you find out something's wrong with him, and like we've talked about this whole time, if we're pointing it out, the Colts are pointing it out.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz has this bad habit. And then the next couple games, you notice that kind of goes away. And it's like, obviously, if we're pointing it out, then they're pointing it out. They're fixing that problem. But my only problem is that I don't want it to turn his creativity off. Right. So that's the problem, is that he was trying to be creative earlier in the year and was just a train wreck. And then lately,
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it's like the last month, he hasn't hardly been using him, pulling his own card at all, right? Until last week, again, when we finally saw some balance out of the program, out of their offense. But that's one of the things I'll always think about with Carson Wentz, right? It's the finer things, right? When you're good, we're supposed to nitpick the good teams and the good players too. The thing about Carson Wentz is you can tell that he doesn't know how to accept criticism. Why?
Yeah.
Because earlier in the season, he was his usage rate was a lot higher, and he was being creative, but he was making mistakes and turning the ball over. And he got coached. Somebody came to him, showed him film, and said, "Hey, you're largely do the right thing with the football. Here's a few examples of you trying to be creative, which we don't want you to not do those things. We just don't want you to do them in these scenarios. Here's a couple opportunities where you maybe could," and all he heard was, "Don't be creative, turn that shit off." And now he comes out there and he's shooting fucking laser beams at people, right? But if the pass ain't wide the fuck open, hand that bitch off. Because I'm not gonna get told, that's the kind of man he is. I can already tell. The moment you provide any critique, he's like, "Oh, fuck that," checking that, crossing that off the list of things I'm willing to do in a football game, right? And it's just true. Earlier in the season, you've seen him trying to shovel pass, trying to flip the ball, trying to think outside the box and try to make a play, and that has disappeared. His usage rate has nosedived. Now, the Colts have won, but again, do you want to turn into the Indianapolis Jonathan Taylors, right? No, we're going to have some balance despite having a goddamn rocket ship at running back. Like,
yeah, basically the MVP.
Yeah, pretty clearly, and potentially, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. In my eyes, and I watch a lot of football, the Colts could very well have the offensive and defensive players of the year. Maybe not the MVP, but Darius Leonard and Jonathan Taylor, in my eyes, best offensive and best defensive players in the NFL.
Is Leonard better than, say, Micah Parsons? Besides, you have to like also think about the bias that a Cowboys player is going to have.
Yeah.
But
doesn't Parsons have like 16 sacks or something like that?
It's just like he has, what is it like? Let me check. He has I thought he had more. He has, it's not such a great season. But the thing with Parsons is not like the sacks, but it's like he plays linebacker, he plays whatever. His list. Yeah, he has 14 sacks. 60 total pressures. How many tackles? Like how many passes? He's just like
all over the field.
Yeah, he's exactly what Isaiah Simmons was supposed to be and more. He played safety, he played cornerback, he played linebacker, he played defensive end. Now, yeah, there is no way this guy doesn't win. Yeah, I just don't. Which sucks, because Darius Leonard seriously has a case for that, but with these numbers, I just don't see it happen against these numbers.
No, not against a Dallas Cowboy. I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Think about this, and it's not like it'd be undeserved either. But like Dak Prescott would get more MVP votes than Carson Wentz, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they have basically like the same. Is it like basically the same numbers?
Yeah. I think I saw it was like 28-5 to 26-5 or something like that. It's like, yeah, they're basically
Yeah,
both those.
yeah, very similar seasons, but
The
yeah, that's
the
what
the
sucks
Cowboy the
about.
Cowboys have a better downfield passing game than the Colts do. But then again, they have
Yeah,
a
yeah, when
few
you have like
receivers. They have talent at receiver.
now you have like a Dalton Schultz is a very good tight end. You have, well, of course, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. What does Wentz have? He has Michael Pittman. That's it. It ends there, Michael Pittman probably would not even be like, he would probably be like the number 4 receiver on that team, number 3 perhaps.
Yeah, he makes tough enough catches that he's sort of a reliable number 2, 3. Yeah, I think that he would be a 7 for 70 guy just about anywhere.
Yeah. And
Yep.
he's like our best receiver by a mile.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Like what is like the second best receiver right now on the Colts?
My Hines. Jack Doyle.
Let me check Colts receiving stats. My money is on Zach Pascal.
Hey, at least it's a receiver.
Well,
that's what I'd
like,
kind of noted. If your top receivers aren't wide receivers, you're not a very good team.
Well, yeah, but you have MPJ with 971, then you have Pascal with 369, then Jonathan Taylor with 336, Jack Doyle with 291, Nyheim Hines 277, and Mo Wally Cox 261. So you have like Michael Pittman, and then you have like 5 players that are between like 400 and 250. And just one of those is a receiver, and it's Pascal, who has been really, really, really bad this year. So yeah, basically our receiving room is fucked.
Yeah. And you don't have a first round draft pick. And you know what? The more football I watch, the Colts, you know why this move for Wentz was so good? Because there doesn't seem to be a ton of first round talent in this class. Like when I've been watching I watched a lot of regular season college football, and I've been watching bowl games. I've been on vacation. I basically haven't worked. I've been on paid vacation since the first week of December. So all these bowl games I'm watching, and I'm just like, no, I hate it. I'd rather work. And I wouldn't rather work right now. I would much rather not work right now. But like,
if you want, I can like send you my work email. You can log in from your computer. You can do my work, and I can take the vacation. That's fine with me if you want it.
I should be doing something. But no, I've been watching a lot of these bowl games. I've been going back and watching guys will have a good NFL game. I was telling you before the podcast started, I charted Joe Burrow and Dak Prescott from this past weekend. I charted their games as I get ready for my first season of padded football since I was 24. It was about 15 years. And then I also intend to chart, because we talked about it. I'll chart what's his name, his game, Zach Wilson from Sunday.
He was like
apparently had the highest rated game.
From
a quarterback on
numbers,
Sunday.
It's like, what was it, like 14 out of 22 for like 100 yards and a touchdown. But he had like a 52-yard running touchdown. And I believe that the problem with the ESPN QBR metrics is that they overvalue the running plays for a quarterback.
Yeah, agree.
So
that's why I don't like the QBR.
Yeah. Like, so basically Zach Wilson with those numbers has a better QBR than Joe Burrow, who threw like over 500 yards and what was it, like 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns.
5 total. Yeah, he had a rushing and 4 passing, and Dak Prescott had 4 touchdowns at halftime.
Like how can you look at that and say, okay, I have a good model here, like I have a good like statistic model.
Because
I
in America, we thrive off misinformation. And when you're wrong, you tend to get more traffic than when you just say the right
yeah,
thing all the time. If you just say the right thing all the time, people will say that you're boring and that you aren't providing any substance and that sitting around stating facts is an entertainment. And so they'd much rather listen to someone make like outlandish claims or lie or not have any direct experience, or they're like Dan Dockich extremists of some sort, right? Whether it be like
yeah.
bunch
Don't even mention him. I just
right.
don't know how you feel about him, but I hate the guy.
Yeah, same. So with the sort of thing like we said all along, Frank Reich will never lose this job because this division is arguably the most winnable in football year in and year out. Carson Wentz is just athletic enough that if you can get him to limit his mistakes in the long term, he could be somewhere more effective than Philip Rivers, but still not as good as Andrew Luck in terms of what the Colts have had at quarterback. But not because I also overvalue the run. It's just numbers stick out, right? Like 70% of throws from quarterbacks in the NFL are what are called off-platform throws, or throws out of the pocket or on the run. So if you know that there's a 2 in 3 chance that you're going to have to move before you let go of that ball, I'd rather have an athlete.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is that. I don't think there was a better move. There are absolutely better guys. I'm not saying he can't win you a Super Bowl, but I am saying that there's room to grow. I don't know if there's enough time left in this season to get it right before a big game comes and a coach that knows how to game plan. But it's just like you said, there are no surprises with this team. In my eyes, there's no surprises. Nothing shocks me. But that's because when you see what they're capable of, and you've seen them put together games where you feel like they've played front to back, like it's hard to accept anything but that.
Yeah.
60 minutes of Colts football. And it's hard to do that without all your guys. So like I said, what will get lost in that win last week is that the Colts beat the Cardinals on the road with no offensive line, and Chandler Jones was all over the place
Leonard.
without their best defensive player.
We need a left tackle, like
yeah. But that was a big win, missing some of your biggest players, and that's coaching. So like I said, probably
Frank Reich,
probably not coach of the year, but that was a hell of an entry in terms of reasons a guy should be the coach of the year. Is that you basically had none of your star power and beat a playoff team. Now they get them all back. Just a couple games left. Just gotta win. We just gotta win out. It'd be hilarious if the Titans coughed it up here late to give the division to the Colts.
That would be just so. That would honestly be like the shittiest thing ever. That would be like the greatest New Year's, Christmas,
right?
You know, whatever, like Thanksgiving gift of all.
Yep. The Titans completely fumbling the bag, right? They had it. They all you had to do is win out. But also Derrick Henry got hurt against the Colts. I just want to
Yeah.
throw that out there. It feels like the Colts are willing to hit Derrick Henry. And I don't know about anybody else, but that's kind of who I want in the playoffs. I wanted the Colts to beat the Titans and then see them in the playoffs. So like
Yeah, that would have
one
been.
and one, play the grudge match in the playoffs. But now it's sweeter because the Colts were 0-2, could potentially have a better record and not win the division, I believe. And the only downside is, of course, the Titans don't have like their three highest paid players. They don't currently have. No
Yeah,
Luan,
what is it
no
like? Taylor
Julio,
Lewan, Julio,
Derrick
AJ
Henry.
Brown, is he still up?
Oh geez.
Has he returned yet?
I'm trying to remember if he came back, because obviously it's not my squad, so I don't have to watch him. If I don't have to watch him, I don't. But
Yeah, I have lost track of him also, but
I can't remember if Julio came back or not. Julio, if AJ Brown came back or not. But yeah, the Colts are healthy at the right time. Where this COVID changing the rules completely changed it, right? Like I thought I was gonna come on for this episode and be like upset. And this is what happens when you don't put your foot down and make your employees get vaccinated. I live in Indiana here. It's an at-will employment state. So, my employer could tomorrow call me and say, provide your vaccination information. You're due to return to the office on Monday. If you can't provide a
yeah.
negative test or proof of
Damn, that would
vaccination, you'll
suck.
be
Yeah.
terminated. Like my boss, they've already shown us the policies, right? So if my employer can just heel turn and say, hey, show us your vaccination status, we're returning to the office. Why can't the Colts do that with their players? And I get it. I can answer my own question. The Colts want to be welcoming to these players.
Yeah,
They
and
don't
they
want
want to
to.
be well like, yeah.
They don't want future players to not want to come here because Jim Irsay rules with an iron fist. I don't think this is a situation where that applies, but I think that's what the Colts have done here, is just decide that they're going to err on the side of letting these adults make their own decisions and living with those consequences, which is sort of disappointing. But as a Purdue alum, I was just proud to see Purdue Athletics put out a tweet today saying 100% of their athletes are vaccinated and
Are
boosted.
vaccinated? Yeah.
So at least my alma mater is getting it right.
Yeah, at least you get that going for you.
Yep. So those are the kind of things I lean on, because like I said, I'm still super sort of sketched out by the whole not getting vaccinated, and then this whole process has been awkward. Right?
Yeah.
Them changing the rules, the CDC changing the rules, and I get it. The longer this drags on, the more I'm like, I don't have what's it called, COVID exhaustion. Like I don't have that. I get it. If other people do, they're just tired of talking about it and hearing about it. But if it wasn't impacting our lives so much, I wouldn't. Right? If it wasn't, if they didn't rule out, like I saw a tweet from a week ago, and it said something like 71 NFL players have tested positive for COVID-19. Then I was like looking at how many players there in the NFL. Oh man, like 10% of the NFL has COVID right now. That's awful. And then they lax the isolation time frame for people with symptoms, which again does fall in line with general rules of science. It's just I'm not I didn't want to see that. It benefits us. So let's keep saying the
Yeah, it
right
benefits
things here.
us this
It
time. Yeah.
benefits us, but it's stupid. And like, I don't think that we should have done that. The CDC should have come out and said that you could reduce your isolation period from 10 to 5 days. I don't think that's a good idea. We're going to see if it results in more players testing positive for COVID. And if it does have an impact. The good news though is there's like a 90-day period after you come out of the health and safety protocols where you can't get tested again, which means like that extends through the Super
they're
Bowl for the
basically like
Colts.
free for the playoff. Yeah.
So the Colts have that going for them. And this is, of course, symptomless, right? Like, so as long as you aren't showing any symptoms,
Yeah, as long as you're symptomatic.
you ain't getting tested, but you come in sick, you actually get COVID and you actually will miss time, especially if you have symptoms. So let's hope that the Colts, as an organization, really wear masks and really try to stay away from each other and really do. They were going all remote this week. I saw. I wonder what kind of impact that'll have for the product on the field on Sunday.
Yeah, at this point in the season, I'm not sure. Like, gonna
I don't
have
know.
that much. Yeah, you never know until it happens. But you get like 17 weeks of practice. Like,
Yep.
It's just losing 1 week. I don't think it's gonna hurt that much.
No, and I think that's partly because I think the Raiders are what I would call lame. Like they're sort of a team that I don't expect, unless you just play bad defense. I don't expect
the Colts to play bad defense.
Them to put up much of a resistance. The Raiders aren't a team I'm worried about blowing anyone out, right? And this is me not sitting here looking at data neither. Jacobs hasn't had that good of a year.
Yeah, he's been really bad. Yeah.
Darren Waller's like their class tight end, injured at wide receiver, just not a lot of star power. And then their top end is hurt, right? Or out. So like what I'm saying is their weapons are kind of duds, right? So they may put up 20 points on a bad defense and may eke out some wins here and there. But I don't think they're beating this juggernaut, which I hate to label the Colts as a juggernaut, but
they are. Yeah,
when you're playing juggernaut football, when you're coming out, I think it's funny. Baldy comes out and makes this video of the Colts in 12 personnel and 2 tights running the football, using the wham block and running the inside zone. That's what my program does. That's what we run the inside zone. We use a wham block too. So Baldy makes this video, but then he makes the next video and it's got Darius Leonard and Kenny Moore in it. And you know what I found interesting was in the video he made about the Colts run game with the Colts running using 2 tight ends, he showed highlights of Kenny Moore and Darius Leonard making plays when the opponent's in 12 personnel and didn't really explain that, like, now here's the opponent trying to do to the Colts what the Colts try to do to their opponent when the Colts have the ball. And here's the Colts defensive players, Kenny Moore and Darius Leonard, saying, no, no. And that's because they're athletic guys that play well in space and are good open field tacklers and have a good nose for the football. So I like that contrast, right? Like here's the Colts grinding, in the run game, and then here's the Colts just absolutely shutting down someone's run game and making plays on the other end. And outside of that punt gaff, the Colts really did play like a really clean game against a good team too. That was another thing. Outside of not declaring left or right on the punt, like telling your gunners which side of the field the ball's on.
That was not like a that's probably like a once in a season type of mistake, especially because like Baba Ventron has been doing such an amazing job at coaching the special teams unit.
Yeah, he's not gonna let
So
like
yeah, you know,
something like that happen again.
yeah, it can happen once when it starts to happen, like when you see it happen regularly, like not exactly that same play, but
Right.
like when your special teams unit is like tricked and it's like nowhere close, or I'm not worried about that. It's just a trick play that worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a one-time thing.
Yeah. And that's fair. Absolutely. It's just not something I expect to see happen. Um, kind of got it out, like I said, got it out of the way. That's like one of those things you don't want to do in a division game. You don't want to do that in a conference game, but you do that, gonna get it out of your system, right? To use a cliche. I hate using cliches, but yeah, on the whole, Colts are in a good spot. Feeling good right now. Big home game. Big home game this
Against
weekend.
against the Las Vegas Raiders coming up.
It's the Las
Hopefully
Vegas
with Carson
Raiders.
Wentz. Hopefully with Carson Wentz, the quarterback.
Hopefully with Carson Wentz, a quarterback. Otherwise, getting the farm back. I saw Ryan Kelly's due back to the facility this week, or expected back to the
Yeah,
facility this week.
yeah, man,
Glowinski, Quentin
great to have
Nelson.
Kelly back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great
But
guy.
have had excellent support from guys like Chris Reed, Danny Pinner.
Yeah,
Absolutely played out of their minds. And which again speaks to coaching. And that's another, and more I think about it, maybe along with offensive player of the year / MVP, Jonathan Taylor, like coach of the year. I think the Indianapolis Colts had said something about that too, where they kind of felt like maybe they got the only thing is, and I do have to kind of bring this up because I know Frank Reich's like super religious, right? So
yeah,
that on
yeah. He is.
last week's Hard Knocks episode where they were talking about Judgment Day, yo, that was some like end times crazy revelations talk, bro. That was whoa. You know what I mean? Like for
Yeah, it was.
the,
Yeah.
thinking about like the time period we're in, and you know what I mean? Like that was, we're talking about football.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, bro, that's a little heavy. But I mean, that's all, it's all in jest. I just think it's a wild way to motivate people. I just really do. Watch Gladiator or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't Jesus like feed the poor and love on
Yeah, he
homeless
did.
people, and Frank Reich's like, Judgment Day's coming.
Well,
Same guy, like same God.
just
Woo. But yeah, I mean, as long as you do everything right and pray to the right God in the right language, I'm sure it'll be fine.
yeah, gonna be great. Just even if Carson Wentz is not available, at least we're gonna get a chance to watch Sam Ellinger. He could be exciting.
Yeah, I think definitely exciting because he's not going to have near the pocket presence, the sort of calmness that Carson
Nah, it's
Wentz.
gonna be like jumping up and down, like going all around. But
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
he's gonna be a little
Either way, it's
skittish.
gonna be fun.
Yeah, and you'll get to see if he can throw on the run, because that would I guess sort of be the question left to answer, because he can certainly throw the ball, he can certainly run. Can he run and throw the ball? Which turned out to be the only thing that Marcus Mariota was good at, was throwing on the
Yeah,
run. But yeah,
look how far that got him.
yeah, well, you got to be able to 3-step drop, make a decision. You know what I mean? Got to hit your slants and your hitches and your outs and your running back into flats. That I even showed my wife. That's how strongly I felt about that last week, where the Colts would line up and like in the spread, And then before the ball snapped, they'd quick motion the running back. We called it a tear motion. They would tear motion the running back out to the flat and then pass away from him. And 2 times they did that, they missed Hines or Taylor to the left, Hines to the right on separate plays. And then if you go back and think about a couple of the passes from Sunday, the ball to Mo Alley Cox was behind Mo Alley Cox. If those are a little out in
the
front
ball
of
to
him,
Michael Pittman,
probably catches that clean. And then the ball that he threw to Jonathan Taylor, where Taylor had to like contort himself to try to make the catch because it was like it wasn't necessarily behind him, but like Carson Wentz threw it at the back of his head. And so he had to try to like turn around and catch it, looking like doing like he's doing a thriller dance to turn around and contort himself to catch the ball. And just like I said, those are things that you can fix those. I don't know if you can fix them in the season. It's going to take time. But I want to make sure I stick this out there. I still think the Colts are holding back. Because like when you think about who's effective with the ball in their hands for the Colts, and it's like at this point, it's like you said, like Zach Pascal is really bad, right? Well, Hines is effective with the ball in his hands. So is Taylor and Pittman and Doyle. So like, why aren't they on the field together more, right? And making defenses. You're gonna stop Jonathan Taylor up the middle. Okay, we're gonna pull the ball and pass it to Hines. Now, who that was gonna tackle Hines, that was gonna tackle Taylor up the middle, is now gonna tackle Hines on the fringe. Right? Like, you just don't have that kind of speed at multiple positions on the field to be able to guard both players. Same thing with like Jack Doyle and Pittman, right? So even if they decide to race out there to the flat and get the back, can you cover Pittman and Doyle? I don't think you can. And so like I'd like to see those 4 on the field together more. And again, that's Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, Michael Pittman, and Jack Doyle, obviously assuming Jack's healthy. But I think when you think about the sorts of evolution that an offense goes through over the course of a season, I still like you'll see, and maybe it's Carson Wentz missing open players, but I'll see a play and I'll on my TV, I'll pause it because the formation they're in. All right, is the motion they used. These are the routes they ran. This is where the ball went. This is who was open. And I'm like, I wonder if they're making sure we hit this now so we can come back later and hit this. And then they'll go confirm that in film and say, see, we threw this. Look at this ball. And then maybe in the playoffs, they put it all together. And then I have no complaints at all, right? Where I'm like, nope, they did all their homework. They figured it all out. And I think it's going to take a big playoff win. And man, I can't help but think about like if we had just managed this season a little better, you could be hosting playoff games, which is kind of what Frank had been talking about. So he'll be beating himself up for that one. Talking about laying the groundwork for wanting to do really well in the regular season. We want to host playoff games. You have a higher probability. Your offense does better. Your defense does better. Makes a bunch of money for your city. That supported your club. So there's millions of reasons to want to host playoff games. And instead, the Colts are just going to have to go on the road and embarrass some people. Just going to have to hurt some feelings on the road on the road again this year, right? So you're playing everybody on the road. Unless, of course,
unfortunately, unless the what is it, like the
Titans dumpster fire themselves, and you end up the 2, and then you get the host.
That or a wild card team, like the Patriots or it's like probably the final, like the Dolphins right now are in the Dolphins are in the 7th spot, I believe.
Yeah, they are.
Who would have thought?
Jeez.
Yeah, I don't think they are gonna hold it, but good for them.
Yeah, right. It won. What is it? Is it 8
9
now?
out of the last 10. And yet, I believe it's like 8 in a row and 9 out of the last 10. But yeah, those games were like really easy.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, I remember, like, I just wrote that article last week, but I wrote a betting article last week about the Miami Dolphins having won 7 in a row, and then they were playing the Saints. And I was like, well, the Saints don't have a starting quarterback, right? It was Ian Book.
Yeah, Ian Book.
You
Yeah.
never bet on a first time starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So I was like, Dolphins are winning this game because they have won 7 games prior and they're playing against the non-starter. So surprised that they're doing as well as they are. Absolutely surprised they won against the Saints. Not at all. Are they going to stay there? It sort of remains to be seen. I don't know who they have, who Miami's got, but I thought I don't know that was who I had going. Who's gonna? Let me see the Chargers play before I put my foot in my mouth. And let me look at the Dolphins. Who do the Dolphins play? Dolphins plays Titans, Patriots.
Yeah, so it's
Oof. So I
gonna be
think the
fun, you know.
the Dolphins
Like,
could go 0-2 there, and the Chargers could go 2-0 and
yeah.
sneak into the playoffs. So that's actually who I would.
Yeah, I actually think that the Chargers are probably gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah. Not the Dolphins. And that. Well, I didn't even.
Nah,
I didn't even look at the
just
Patriots play. Who do they play? Jags and Dolphins. Oh yeah, New
yeah.
England and New England and LA are gonna go undefeated here, 2-0 to end their season, and I think Miami's gonna lose 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. So expect to see the Pats and Chargers.
Yeah, probably it's gonna be that. Yeah.
Now the AFC feels stacked to me. But young at quarterback. I think I want to say the Colts have the oldest quarterback.
Bunch. Yeah. It's a fun fact. Older than Mahomes, older than well, Ryan Tannehill is the oldest.
Oh, he's 33. That's my bad.
Yeah.
Dang, he's old.
Yeah. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, who'd have thought?
It like happens that I still believe he's like 26, 27.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like Tannehill's been, dang, that's like more than a decade in the league, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. We're
Time
getting
fought.
old.
Yeah, I was like, man, I'll just make myself feel real old there. But yeah, man. Jeez. What a. I still find myself. I'm even when we're not recording a podcast, I still think about like, the Colts are like in the playoffs now. Like they were. What? And that game started off so chaotic. In those night games. My wife and I don't usually get to watch those games together. It's like the first time I've ever woken my wife up in the middle of a football game and been like, "Holy shit, this game has everything!" Like. You're missing the wildest start to a football game. And she's like, well, can't you just tell me about it? I'm like, okay. Like, so I just told her all the things that had happened in that first half. And she's like, damn, are we going to win? And like, we got them handled for now. Like, shit. But yeah, so that's kind of where my head was. Is just like, that was a wild game to win, down players. And then coming off the back of that, then to get good news. And then obviously
we're gonna get the players back. Yeah.
Gotta say it before we get out of here. Rest in peace, John Madden.
Yeah.
I
Guy
was
that
not
got
I
me
was
into
not
football.
I was not close to John Madden, but you kind of felt like you were if you play video games and you grew up.
Yeah, man.
I'm a child of the 90s, and John Madden changed football. He made concepts easier to explain. Got me in a lot of trouble, probably hurt my grades.
Yeah, me.
But
And
ultimately, made me a better football fan. Made me appreciate teams and players from past and present on other teams. Maybe appreciate organizations or made me a better college football fan, right? Because when you realize there's a handful of schools that produce like a ton of NFL talent. That's really cool. If you like watching college ball, like you get to see someone as an amateur and then you get to see him play as a pro. It's pretty cool. So yeah, hats off to a guy that also was sort of like an idol because I want to be a commentator, right? And he
yeah,
commentated 11 Super Bowls. And obviously commentated games during the regular season on top of, so it wasn't just a video game which he just lent his namesake to, and had some thoughts on it early but otherwise wasn't very involved with the creation of the game, uh, and then had this wonderful broadcasting career, right? But then was a successful coach before that. So yeah, even a Super Bowl winning coach. This is a big loss
one
for football.
basically one hell of a life. Like
Yeah,
football life.
when they title something a football life, uh,
It's
John Madden, it sort of exemplifies
absolutely, yeah.
a football life. So yeah, it's probably a good place to. I don't know about how you feel. A good place to say,
Yeah, yeah.
hey, happy holidays,
Happy New Year.
happy New Year, and hopefully the Colts get a big old win on Sunday, huh?
Yeah. Hopefully we come back next week with a playoff spot assured.
Yeah, that would be really nice, right? So cross our fingers that we're talking about playing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Playoffs, right?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, have a good rest of your week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
That is